right. So, how you doing today? You doing great?
As great as I can. I'm still locked in COVID, but yeah, pretty good. And I'm excited to be here and talk about Allendale for a little bit.
All right. So we're going to start very simple. Um, who are you, and where did you grow up, and how did you get become a part of Allendale Strong?
Well, my name is John Perkins, and I'm was born in Shreveport and grew up in the South Highlands neighborhood in East Shreveport, and lived there the first 2 decades of my life. So I was born in '58. I lived there until I left for college after graduation from high school in '76. Um, how did I get interested in Allendale? So that's a long story, but I had a really great career going. I'd been lucky to land a job in a radio station when I was in high school after school. Total happens lucky thing, and it happened to be something I was good at. And so the technology didn't bother me, the microphones, and so I was comfortable. And I just, kept, even after I graduated high school, kept getting offered jobs in media, to work after classes at Louisiana Tech or wherever. So it just kind of worked out that I became a person who worked in media. I really didn't have any goals, but it was like, oh, they'll pay me to do this, okay. So I worked in media for a number of years all over the region, and I developed a career, again, really just luck. Woody Allen says 90% of the film industry is just showing up, and I just kind of would show up and not get fired that day from the job, so they would keep me. And so in 2015, in the summer of 2015, I was working for Good Morning America as a stringer, a part-time worker that is on call. So they called me and said, hey, could you go down to Lafayette? I'd just been working all day on a TV commercial. And I said, yeah, sure. New York City calls, you answer the phone. And I went down to Lafayette, and then they called me and told me that as I was on the road, that there had been a tragic theater shooting in a movie theater in Lafayette, and at least 4 were dead, and the shooter was also dead. And so I got to the scene, stayed up all night, interviewed some of the heroes that helped, and sent all the material to New York, and went back to the hotel room and crashed after being up about 36 hours. So the next day, got up, checked in, there was no more work, so checked out of the hospital, drove back to Shreveport, and I had talked to my boys, and they wanted wings, so I was like, well, I'm not too far from a wings store, so I stopped in to get wings for supper, and my friend Brian Salvatore, who's head of the Department of Chemistry and Physics at LSU, says, hey, John. I was like, hey, how's it going with that open burn issue where the government, Louisiana's the only state in the union where the government could still send all their old munitions and set them on fire and let the smoke. And I'd been helping Brian, who's a chemist, solve that issue, and I asked about that. And Brian said, hey, but John, there's one more thing I wish you could take a look at. And I said, what's that? And he said, well, did you know they're building a highway through Allendale, I-49? I did not know that because that had been stopped twice before, and I was kind of shocked to hear about it. And I said, no, Brian, I don't know. I thought that was stopped. He said, well, somebody's restarted it. So I just, filed that away, went home, fed the kids, hung out, and went to bed. And the next day, my curiosity piqued. And so Googled, and as a journalist or as lawyers think like this, or the good ones do, what is every side of that issue, so you start to solve answer a question: why do cities build highways through cities? I mean, why do cities build highways through the center of the city? So that question, why do cities insist on building a highway right through the middle of the town, led me to a whole lot of articles that said they don't do it anymore, hadn't been done, not done. Bad idea. In fact, it's so bad that cities are paying money instead of rebuilding their inner city highways. They're actually using that federal funding with some of their own to remove them and put back the neighborhood that was there before. And that was sort of my aha moment. So not to diss Shreveport too bad, but usually Shreveport's maybe a decade or more behind the times. So if everybody's got HBO in California, you'll have HBO in 10 more years. So that was the way I grew up. It's like California has cable, that's coming about 1980. And so, this was like that. I was like, well, maybe Shreveport hadn't gotten the memo yet that highways through cities create a whole lot of problems. And even though I drove highways and saw a lot of that problems along, I just thought, well, highways must be good or they wouldn't build them. And my study from that day on has taught me that it's been a terrible idea for cities, and that's why cities like Syracuse and Oklahoma City's done it, Seattle's done it. They're removing them where they can. So there my journey began in 2015, and I started posting articles and kind of caught the eye of folks who were attending those Allendale Strong meetings, including my friend Dr. Salvatore. And I got the invitation, and I walked into a room full of really bright people excited to learn about what was happening to their neighborhood. And it's been a great experience, great friends, and but also very painful at times, very painful. Sometimes you see this underbelly of the city, and as they say, you don't ever want to watch how sausage is made or how laws are made. And I've seen a lot of the inner workings of city government, and it's ugly sometimes, real ugly.
So, that story resonates with a lot of people. And what ultimately do you think your goal is involving Allendale Strong? And where do you see Allendale Strong in the future?
Okay, so 2015 August, I walk in there. My goal was just to be a supportive friend, and to see what I could learn. I'm pretty good at researching and digesting a lot of information fast, and I can hold on to it. I'm blessed. So eventually they kind of liked me, and they asked me if I could help them from my media background, because these were everyday working class folks that did not get a lot of media attention, and they were starting to get a lot of media attention, at least locally. And so my goal was to help them feel comfortable in microphones and cameras, and in particular to go down to City Hall and speak to their government, to redress their grievances with their government. And I was like, man, you guys got great stories. You guys do great in here. And all right, yeah, but we've never done this before. And I was like, oh, it'll be easy, and the truth was I'd never gone down and spoke to the government before either, but I'd spoken to a lot of government officials, but not with a room full of people around me listening and all. It was pretty intimidating. But so we held practice sessions, and so that was my little goal, was to get these guys ready to go speak when there was an issue in front of the government that needed attention. And hey man, that was fantastic experience. And it went so well that one of us actually got kicked out of that first meeting. Yeah, by our own city councilman, kicked the dude out. The police haul him out, and the media followed him out into the hallway, to ask him what he thought about getting, in it. And I was like, wow, great, So we got a ton of free media. It was great, and they had been watching us on our Facebook page. I'd gotten that up and running, posting articles and grabbing more audience. So the media said, "Who's the guy running your Facebook page?" And everybody pointed to me. And so that's when I kind of knew we were on to something. If the media is watching the page, and we began Facebook. A good Facebook page is a conversation, with the people, and you listen to what they're asking and what are they telling you, and you get into that conversation just like you do with anybody. And so that began a conversation with the media too. Why did they throw Bill out of the meeting? It became a good point of conversation. We were able to dine on that for a long time. Got a feature piece done by one ABC affiliate, did a feature piece on us, and so it got us, and it got us more attention, which we needed, and more people started coming to the meetings to help. And so that was my goal for a long time, was to try to just keep everybody communicating. That's what a communications guy does. But as I became more involved, of course, it got into forming a 501c3. They formed a 501c3 and a board of directors and an executive board. And I was asked to be an advisor to those organizations, the board and the executive committee. So I don't sit on the board. I don't live in Allendale, but they asked for my help with strategy. And so that's been something I never thought I would get into, but it's necessary. It's been a long 5 years. We still have at least another year of this. They've been going at it for 9 years. So yeah, I came in, they were old pros in a ways, and this has been an amazing experience for me. I've never done anything, I'd never gone down and spoken in front of City Hall. But everyone should try that. If more people did it, the cities would be in a much better shape than they are. So yeah.
So thank you for speaking with us today, John. And we will definitely be talking a little more during the podcast.
Okay. I've enjoyed it so far. It's a fascinating story. Thank you for asking me to tell it.